So today we're going to talk about touching your dog, which kind of follows on a little bit from the video we did on biting, okay? Not so much touching your dog, but about when you should leave your Chihuahua alone. Not just your Chihuahua, any dog. And I want to give you an example. So a couple of weeks ago, my other half and I went down to the harbour to have lunch. We live on the coast. So we went down to the harbour to have lunch, and we're in a lovely restaurant where dogs were perfectly welcome, and there were several dogs already in there. A family come in with a spaniel, a beautiful spaniel, love a spaniel. And it came in, they'd clearly been on the beach. The dog had clearly been playing. It was wet, it was covered in sand, and it had obviously been having its best day. And it came in and it sat under the table and it sat down on the floor and it was minding its own business. And a couple of the people got up and went and ordered food, and there was somebody sat with the dog, and the dog was on a lead. Now, I love watching people when they've got their dogs out and about. It's really, really interesting. The guy who had the dog was holding it on the lead, just wouldn't leave the dog alone. Okay, the dog was sat there. It was clearly tired. It had clearly just wanted to sit down and mind its own business, but it was touch on the head, scritch on the head, good boy, keep interfering with the dog, to the point where eventually the dog just got up. It was aggy, it was pacing, and by the time the people came back with the food, when they actually wanted the dog to be quiet, his arousal level had gone right up, and he was clearly finding it difficult to settle. So what I wanted to talk to you today is about when it's appropriate to touch your dog and when it isn't, okay? Now, everybody does this, okay? Everybody, when your dog is lying there minding their own business, I just need to check that my dog still loves me. And you go up and you give them a little scritch on their tummy, or you give them a little scritch behind their ear. And it all seems perfectly harmless, and it doesn't feel like you're causing any problems at all. But one of the reasons we suggest you don't do this is because, obviously, one, you're disturbing your Chihuahua's rest, okay? Dogs don't get enough rest during the day, domestic dogs. There's too much pacing, too much wandering around, too much interference, and it interferes with their rest and can kind of make them a little bit aggy. But more important than that is it creates an event around your movement, okay? Every time you get up, every time you move, or you walk around, your dog think, oh, something's happening. So the dog might be lying there minding its own business. You come into the room and then the dog's arousal level goes up. Now that only needs to happen a few times while they're trying to mind their own business, and you've got a dog that is going to be constantly watching you to see what's going to happen next. So the key takeaway here is, if your dog is lying there doing nothing, have it as a house rule that people leave the dog alone, okay? And especially if the dog is asleep, then absolutely the dog must be left alone, because in disturbing a dog when they're asleep is kind of asking for a bite, basically, and for the dog to become aggy and anxious around your movement. Now, this is especially important to children because they don't always understand that the dog needs to rest or the dog needs to be left alone. So this is a really good reason why having a cozy corner or a crate for your dog is a really good idea. And children must be taught that when your dog is sleeping and when the dog is minding their own business, that the kids need to leave them alone as well. So we need to extend this to you coming and going in and out the house, because if you create huge amounts of importance when you come in by making a big fuss of the dog, or telling the dog, oh, I love you, and bye, when you leave, you are attaching huge amounts of importance, which can start to pay into separation anxiety. So when you leave the house, you just leave the house. You do not need to get involved with your dog. They do not speak English. They are not going to go, oh, it's all right, it's fine, you can go now. I understand you're going to be back in a minute. And when you come in, if you make a huge fuss, then you're making a big fuss of your dog while the system is full of cortisol, which is going to start paying into separation anxiety. And similarly, not letting them out for a wee the minute you get in as well. Now, I know it seems to be the sensible thing to do. You've been away, the dog probably needs a wee, But if you think about, if you'd been 5 minutes later coming in the door, the dog would have coped. So remember the 5 minute golden rule, okay? You don't interact with your dog for 5 minutes when you come in. Now, people find that really, really hard, okay? And they find not interacting with their dog when they leave really difficult. But honestly, you're not doing your dog any favors by making a huge fuss. You are just creating more excitement and more anxiety around your coming and going and around your movement. So I hope you found that useful. And as ever, please like and subscribe to our channel. And if you've got any questions or you need some help, please put a question in the comments and I'll come back to you. Bye bye for now.